BYU is still a playoff team. Texas Tech is a national championship team. Utah, playoff team. And TCU, what an idiot. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thanks for making this show your first listen every single day as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in America. We start with a recap of every game on Saturday. You know, there are three teams. There are three elite teams in the Big 12, three college football playoff contenders. And with TCU losing, it's like, all right, three teams and then a bunch of 8 and 4. And that kind of rocks for the three teams who can keep saying, yeah, we beat winning programs. We beat borderline top 25 programs. That's good for the league. And Cincinnati, Houston can both prove me wrong. Then three teams, yeah, college football playoff bound. Here's why I think that is the case. Here's why I think BYU will still be ranked above Utah, and it helps the league. And gosh, please do not put Oregon in front of any of our teams. And finally, my first reaction to Texas Tech and BYU as the game of the week. I will go wax poetic. I'm only going to cover it a little bit at the start of the show and give you an unpacked 8 minutes of just bang to end this thing. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. Let's go. First and foremost, I'm going to go 30 seconds, BYU, Texas Tech. BYU is great defensively. Texas Tech is elite defensively. Jacob Rodriguez is a Heisman contender. This reminds me, Texas Tech only scored 2 touchdowns, 5 field goals. Reminds me of that really crappy LSU-Alabama national championship game where two defenses are just so good that it's hard for another team who we know is elite. LSU won that first matchup and lost in the title. We know LSU was elite, but they got beat around the title game. It's what this looked like. Texas Tech struggled to score in the red zone. Overall, it was a blowout, yes, but BYU just kept kind of hanging around. I don't think BYU is a bad football team. I'll tell you more later. They're a playoff contender. Bear Bachmeier grew up, had to grow up. Like, this is, you take a paddling and you move on. From there, Houston, UCF. If you're a BYU fan going, or a Texas Tech fan going, why are we talking about Houston? They're 8-2. The Houston Cougars are 8-2. One on the road, one against UCF. And look, UCF has been playing much better football. They could be a bowl team. They're 4-5 right now. I thought Connor Wegman was bad. 3 interceptions. Houston had 4 turnovers in total. Had a fumble as well. I watched this game pretty much start to finish, and I wanted to throw up in my mouth. It was terrible. But in the end, UCF at home couldn't take advantage, Taven Jackson, of all of the opportunities that they were given by Houston. Belfort, who came in, also just not, like, at the end of this, it's like, man, UCF, you had a shot at home on a Friday to just do it. And you couldn't, you wouldn't. Houston goes 8 for 16 on third down, 433 total yards to 282 by UCF. This was, all intents and purposes, not a beatdown, but UCF beating itself when Houston gave 4 turnovers to the Knights, and this game could have easily been a win by the Knights, even though their offense wasn't as good as it needed to be to win the game. Kansas, Arizona. This is a classic Big 12 game. If you missed this game, I pity you. 6-3 Arizona. They're going bowling. Kansas is now 5-5. The Wildcats were awesome, man. Just in a fun way, not in a great way. Noah Fafita, 16 for 31, 158 yards, was not good. I didn't have fun watching Noah Fafita until the last drive of the game. If you didn't watch it, this came down to crunch time for Brent Brennan, who I said isn't the right fit at Arizona. I'm kind of foot and mouth right now. 6-3 is good. You know, Jalen Daniels didn't play well either. 15 for 29, 199 yards and a touchdown. This is not the Kansas that you want. This is not the Kansas we thought we'd get this year. This is not the Arizona we thought we'd get. They're much better. And if you look at the box score, the game cast, whatever you want to look at, that's the tell. Is there was only one score in the fourth quarter, only a total of 13 points in the second half. That one score came from Arizona. It was a touchdown to win the game. Arizona 24, Kansas 20. They're going bowling. How good of a bowl? I don't know. Good luck to you, though. You're going to a bowl. Kansas can sneak into a bowl game. This kind of goes into West Virginia, Colorado. West Virginia at 4-6. They still have an opportunity to go bowling. I don't think they will, given their schedule coming up. Let's take a look at it. Well, we have a second. This is my show. I can do whatever I want. At Arizona State, Texas Tech at home. They're not going bowling. However, the fact they've won their last 2 games, including on the road against the top 25 Houston, really admirable from Rich Rodriguez. You may finish 4-8, but there was fight. There was life. You eat frog legs in Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, right? That area of the country, frog legs. And then you put it in the pan, and the thing, the legs jump, the muscles, you know, it's dead, right? The season's over. But man, You hit the oil and those muscles jump for West Virginia. Scotty Fox Jr. feels like the future, even though he wasn't great today. 45 QBRs, not awesome. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 17 for 28, 202 yards. Honestly, it was the defense of West Virginia that clutched up when they needed to against Colorado. Caden Salter, bad. It didn't need him. Like, Julian Lewis is going to be your guy. I thought I was super impressed, honestly, with Julian Lewis because he is so young. Like, Salter just maybe shouldn't have been the answer at all this year for Colorado. He's just not going to be your guy. Juju Lewis is the future for Colorado. West Virginia wins. Very proud of West Virginia. Colorado will not go bowling officially. Then Iowa State, TCU. Again, if you didn't get to watch this game, it's your loss. This is another example of the Big 12 having a bunch of 8-4 teams. Iowa State could be that. TCU could be that. Houston could end up being that. Cincinnati could end up being that. They could be in that 9-3 category. That all helps kind of the resumes of our other schools that are in contention for a Big 12 championship or the college football playoff. Rocco Becht went 9 for 24. 111 yards, touchdown, 2 picks, and he won the game. He didn't win the game, I want to be clear. The defense, Dominic Orange, who got banged up, won the game for Iowa State. And honestly, TCU's silly, stupid mistakes. Josh Hoover not being very good. 50 pass attempts in this game. TCU could not establish the run game. The defense of Iowa State is still good, man. They finally get back in the win category, and they're just banged up. This is one of the most hurt teams in the Big 12 right now, most banged up teams in America. They had 15 downs to TCU's 30. Horned Frogs, 432 yards of offense. Iowa State, 272. This is a Horned Frogs win. They just couldn't close it out. And therefore, guess what? 3 turnovers. It is an Iowa State win. Love it for the Cyclones going on the road. Takes TCU basically out of Big 12 championship contention, and that's okay. We have our contenders right now. I would start asking a couple of questions about Sonny Dykes. I would probably. And for Iowa State, look, 8-4 coming off of a Big 12 championship appearance last year is awesome. I thought today in the Big 12 was kind of quintessential Big 12. Great game, Arizona, Kansas. Does it matter for the league? Not really. Great game, Iowa State, TCU. Does it matter for the league? Not anymore. Great game, West Virginia, Colorado. Does it matter for the league? No, but they were all one-score games. The only game that wasn't one score this week, BYU, Texas Tech, the game the entire nation watched. I don't think BYU should be penalized greatly. The red zone defense was clutch. Baron Morton isn't great. Baron Morton, I don't know if he's a national championship winning quarterback. I would have said the same thing about Will Howard last year, right? He wasn't great, wasn't elite at Kansas State at least. You know, he's not a national championship winning quarterback, but he won one because the pieces around him and the defense are so good at Ohio State. That could be the case for Baron Morton. Coming up, Baron Morton is going to the playoff. So is BYU. So is Utah. Locked On Big 12. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the country. Today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. Bought my first home in February. You know what I used? To furnish it, to put the things in it? Wayfair. This holiday season is right around the corner. That means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy nude linens, or fun serve wear for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here, and it's here to help you make your space shine. Best part, don't have to wait. 70% off of everything from sofas to spatulas all month long. Recently upgraded? My carpets. Really need a new carpet. So I got some rugs from Wayfair, and it completely transformed the fact that I don't have to like mop the floors anymore. I hide the dirt. Couldn't believe how fast it was all shipped as well in time for plenty of time for the holidays. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com. Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. Wayfair. Every style, every home. The Big 12 is still in a great spot to get 3 teams into the college football playoff. BYU, Utah, Texas Tech. But if there is one thing you have to understand, I mean, I had it this weekend with Utah fans on Twitter. If there's one thing you have to understand, it's that BYU is still above Utah in that conversation, and ultimately that helps the Big 12 because Utah is so highly ranked. I'll explain. First, Twitter's not a real place. You, the Utah fan on YouTube, you, the Utah fan on the street, the sentient one with the brain who can shake my hand and say hello. You're a normal person. Some of your comrades on America's most free and public forum to wax poetic about sports called Twitter, some of your comrades are idiots. Just not bright. And maybe the crux of this is a tweet, it just encapsulates it all, from @TheRealUtahUtes. Number 13, Pick 6U, says a 2-loss Utah team will be ranked higher than a 1-loss BYU team. Change my mind. I don't have to. BYU beat Utah straight up. Utah at home lost to Texas Tech by 24 points, 24 points. BYU on the road lost to Texas Tech by 2 points, 22 points. That metric favors BYU. Oh, and if only these two teams could play on the field and have a head-to-head record. They do. They do. Happy Sunday, everybody. Whether you like it or not, whether you're a Utah fan or a BYU fan, the game was played on the field. And for the third straight time, BYU won. And the higher BYU is ranked this week, the better opportunity the Big 12 has to get 3 teams into the college football playoff. I know Texas Tech is in a better position to win a national championship for this conference than BYU. I don't think I have to babysit or make a case for Texas Tech anymore. They just proved to the country they used their mulligan against Arizona State. They proved to the country they are a college football playoff team. BYU, on the other hand, they do, same as Utah, need a little bit of babysit. We need, from a PR standpoint, we have to convince the country that these teams still deserve to be college football playoff teams. But may I present this evidence to you? Number 7 in the country going into this week, BYU. The team above them, Ole Miss, played the Citadel. Number 7 in the country, BYU. Number 8, Texas Tech. Texas Tech just beat BYU at home, so certainly the Cougars will drop. Very likely they'll drop behind Oregon. Probably behind Notre Dame, even though Notre Dame has 2 losses and BYU has only 1. From there, the Cougars simply cannot drop behind Utah, who sits at 13. Why? May I say it again? They lost by fewer points and on the road to Texas Tech, the best team in the Big 12, who also beat Utah. And my goodness, in a game played between the Utes and the Cougars, BYU won. Now, I will make the case on pretty much every show the rest of the fall. We are trusting this man, Mac Rhodes, who wears clown shoes, to make these decisions. So I have a lack of confidence, even though I thought the committee did a really good job last week, a lack of confidence that they will continue to do a good job. But I have seen Utah fans that are tweeting, oh, the Big 12 will see BYU sit at 17th in the country this week. What? No, they beat you. The one thing I do hope we don't get into is the committee says, well, we watched the games and we see that Utah is a better team than BYU because they played already. I watched the game. I was at the game. It happened. The tree fell in the woods and I was there to see it. So it did make a sound. Therefore, you cannot move them behind Utah. And what's great for the Big 12 Conference is so far in these rankings, they have favored the Utah Utes, who I believe should be a college football playoff team, who I believe their losses have come to the 2 best teams in the Big 12, Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah. And they're all top 10 teams probably in the country. I think BYU is probably the 9th or 10th best team in the country. I think they're probably better than Notre Dame. I think they are probably better than Oregon. I think they're probably better than Texas and Oklahoma and Virginia and Louisville. I think Utah is probably better than Oregon. I think Utah would beat Notre Dame and Texas and Oklahoma and Virginia and Louisville. So I am comfortable saying that both of these teams, both of these rivals who cannot seem to forget about each other for 1 second and just do the game, both of these teams should be college football playoff teams. Now, I love a good rivalry. I love some banter. I love the idea that even in a week where you're not playing, your opposing team's playing, your least favorite team is playing, you like to chirp them and trash talk them. That's great. But the more you dilute the success of BYU, do you understand you begin to dilute the resume of Utah? Do you understand? If you're a Utah fan, you should be rooting for BYU the rest of the way. Because, and bring it in, because if BYU is to finish 8-4, you lost to a bad team. You don't get into the playoff. If BYU, especially if Cincinnati goes to the Big 12 title or Houston goes to the Big 12 title or whoever due to the tiebreaker deal, and you're like, oh, well, Utah beats Cincinnati's up. Yeah, I understand that. But if we have 4 teams tied at 4-2, then the head-to-head thing kind of goes out the window. So what I need you to wrap your head around is you need BYU to win. Texas Tech needs BYU to win. BYU needs Utah to win. BYU needs Texas Tech to win. The Big 12 needs those 3 teams to run the table the rest of the way and continue to build their resume. Here is why. If you're a Utah fan, quit opining about a Big 12 championship berth. It's the last thing you want. If you're a Utah fan, your dream scenario, and look at the rankings, your dream scenario, don't be an idiot, is for BYU and Texas Tech, both 11-1, to play in the Big 12 championship. Well, I'm a Utah fan. I want to go to the Big 12 championship. I hate Big 12. Stop. 11-1 Texas Tech, 11-1 BYU. Big 12 championship. And it doesn't matter who wins. It does not matter who loses to you. Because at that point, 10-2 Utah, can I show you something? 10-2 Utah, who currently sits at 13th in the country. Oklahoma's going to lose to Alabama. Texas is going to lose to Georgia. Notre Dame could lose, very likely, to Pitt. Oregon has a tough down stretch of their schedule. Who knows what Ole Miss is? They just beat the Citadel. And Utah could easily slip to that 10th spot. Or we could see the downfall of the ACC, and they don't even get a guy in. Look at San Diego State somewhere up there, right? Or Tulane after all. But if Utah doesn't have to play the Big 12 championship game, and here's another secret for you Utah fans, if you don't play in the Big 12 championship game, and it's BYU versus Texas Tech, the loser of that game somehow, some way, because the committee is full of idiots, might just drop below Utah. You don't want to risk another loss on your schedule. You don't. The way it's set up, 3 Big 12 teams can get into the college football playoff. I believe that. I wholeheartedly believe that. But don't be an idiot. Don't. BYU winning is good for you. Texas Tech winning the rest of the way is good for you. We should all be, and I know it's weird for you, but kind of rooting for each other. In the SEC, I don't give a rat's butt if you don't root for them. Oh, I hate them. I hope they lose every game. In the Big 12, we kind of have to root for each other because, yeah, there's some truth to it. We're not the Big 10. We're not the SEC in the eyes of the committee, in the eyes of ESPN, in the eyes of the powers that be. Therefore, we have to root for each other. Sorry, we're all in this together. Sorry, the Pac-12 sucked and fell apart because they sucked. Now we have to do this as kind of like a family unit. Get on board, Utah. Coming up, here's my reaction. The BYU and Utah to the BYU and Texas Tech game. Immediately after the game was over, I think BYU is still a playoff team. Elite defense, not fraudulent. I think Texas Tech is just a national championship contender. This is Locked On Big 12. Hey, today's show is brought to you by, FanDuel. FanDuel is exactly where I went this weekend to say, hi, you know what? I got a hunch that West Virginia can cover 6 points. And guess what they did? They covered 6 points against Colorado. And the NBA is back. College football's here. The NFL. There's just no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at bigger payouts. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to sign up, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. It's FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Texas Tech blows out BYU. I have a dog named Bear. After Baylor, where I graduated, not because I'm that big of a BYU fan. And he took a dump about 4 minutes before I started recording, which was maybe the most impressive thing I saw a Bear do today. Texas Tech defense, their defense. Now it's not me saying Jacob Rodriguez should be in the Heisman hunt. Now it's not Joey McGuire saying that or Kirby Hocutt saying that or his teammates, Baron Morton. Now it's Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler saying Jacob Rodriguez should be in the Heisman hunt. He is Manti Te'o with better numbers and a more real love of his life. A sentient, tangible being who is his wife. Who, did you know, and this is a deep track, I'm not sure if you knew this. This is information only I carry. She flies Black Hawk helicopters. Yep, it's real. 29-7 final score. I want the first point of this to be Texas Tech is a national championship caliber team. BYU just lost on the road to a national championship caliber team. And if you're a Texas Tech fan, you are a fan of a national championship caliber team. Let that set in. I grew up in a small town rooting for the Arkansas Razorbacks. You know who's very similar to the Arkansas Razorbacks? The Texas Tech Red Raiders. Typically overlooked. Typically people are like, oh, I don't care nationally about Texas Tech. For me, my entire childhood was watching losing. And an 8-win season was the ceiling. Ha ha ha, we did it. We won 8 games. The coach doesn't get fired. That's been the existence of Texas Tech fans for pretty much their history, aside from that blip 20 years ago when Mike Leach won them a bunch of football games and got pushed out the door the day before he was going to be paid $800,000. And that curse has lived with you until Joey McGuire showed up, and he doesn't even have a top 10 payroll in all of college football. What I love, finally, Kirk Herbstreit made the point. He said, look, LSU pays players. They suck. A&M paid a record to their players 3 years ago. They sucked. It takes culture. It takes development. It takes what the Big 12 has. It takes what Texas Tech has to have not even a top 10 payroll in the sport and win at this level. And they do it defensively. Watching this game, I am still worried about Texas Tech's offense. My hope is for the playoff committee, and I will make this point multiple times, I don't care till the cows come home. My hope is that the playoff committee looks at this game and they say, BYU held Texas Tech to 2 touchdowns. And the Cougars defense really wasn't that bad. Actually, a pretty good defensive showing for BYU. If you look at the Tech offense, Baron Morton, 17 for 32. That's not good. 219 yards. Fairly pedestrian, I guess. That's fine. And a touchdown. Tech didn't turn the ball over. They ran the ball well with Cameron Dickey. Jacoby Williams is a dog. Dickey, especially in the second half, was solid. 43 carries for 149 yards, though. That's only 3.5 yards per carry. They didn't necessarily run the ball all over BYU. BYU's defense played well. If you watch this game, you would know the BYU defense played well, and you would consider BYU to still be a top 15 defense in college football. Tech is just that good. Playing at home especially, this is a Tech team that is just that good. What you have to consider as a BYU fan is your season's not over. What you have to consider as a Texas Tech fan, you are in the driver's seat. You are Tim Allen. You are in the Santa Claus movie. You did it. You killed Santa Claus. You scared him off the roof. He fell to his demise. He broke his neck. Santa is dead. And again, I brought it up multiple times. What a weird concept for a movie. What a strange idea for that to be. But Tech, you get to be Santa Claus here. And as Santa Claus, you drive the ship of the Big 12 Conference. Now, yeah, you got knocked off the roof yourself against Arizona State, and that is going to mar this league. But my hope is the committee watches the games. Because if you did, you'd see the Texas Tech having 5 field goals in this game showcases that the BYU Cougars defensively are not bad. Tech just 17 first downs. 17 first downs. 2 elite defenses going toe-to-toe. Tech 368 yards isn't world-beating. BYU 255 total yards is bad. Tech's defense is better than BYU's defense. It's not the case of making that BYU is better on that side of the ball. What I'm saying is the hope should be for the Big 12 and the guy who hosts Locked On Big 12. The committee watches this game and says, yeah, Texas Tech's a top 5 team. And, BYU's probably the 10th best team in the country and deserves to be in the college football playoff. I'll make plenty of cases all week about how BYU is still a playoff team and Texas Tech is a playoff team and Utah is a playoff team. This is a game where Aaron Roderick, the offensive coordinator of BYU, I apologize to him this week for asking him to be fired. But watching, I didn't think that Mac Leftwich was that impressive. I didn't think Roderick was that impressive. I thought the offensive coordinators were mostly pedestrian, maybe because the defenses are so good. And that's why I don't blame them to the nth degree for what happened here. These are just 2 very good defenses. The point where I look at the offense of BYU and I say, yep, you know what? If I was Aaron Roderick, I too would be like, shoot, man. I don't know. Run the ball, Bear Bachmeier. If I was Mac Leftwich, I would probably stop once every 3 plays saying, Barron, throw the ball as far as you can. Because it doesn't work out very well most of the time, Throw the ball 40 yards downfield and out of bounds toward the boundary is just not the play you're wasting plays. And Tech had to punt a good amount in this game. The problem is, I keep saying it, I hope the committee watches the games. I don't know if they watch the games. I don't know if their takeaway from this will be BYU's defense is good. This is the level of clownassery we have leading the playoff committee. If you're watching, it's a picture of Mac Rhodes in plaid pants, dyed his hair black for some reason. This looks like an AI. He's wearing clown shoes, literal clown shoes, plaid pants, and a shirt with 17. It's got the entire color spectrum on it. This would give a dog a heart attack. And he's putting his hand on Dave Aranda, probably telling him he's fired in a few weeks. And that's the same clownassery, the head of the committee, who is under investigation for berating Baylor players. Why is the AD on the sideline with the players? For berating Baylor players and coaches during games. That's the man we're trusting to do the right thing and still give BYU the benefit of the doubt, to give Texas Tech a spot in the top 5 this week. That's the man we're trusting. Okay, great. And all the while, Ole Miss gets to play the Citadel. Georgia probably plays Tulsa next week because that's what we do in college football. We say, I don't know, man. Let the SEC play UConn to end the year. Why not? Look, Nothing you can do about it. Texas Tech's the best team in the Big 12. That Arizona State game is not indicative of who they are. And it should not be held against them in an intense way. Because, man, they're just elite. And anybody who runs into them, I'm sorry. You're in for a BTA, a good old-fashioned BTA. It's belt to butt for my BYU listeners. And I am once again blown away by Joey McGuire and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. This has been and always will be Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Come back for even more tomorrow. Dose Grande.